welcome. Episode 17 of Divots and Pivots. We got the Byron Nelson, the AT&T Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch this week. Bud, as always, I'm joined by the star himself. How are you doing?
The star. We are in the Lone Star State. I thought that's where you were going to go with your dad pun. AT&T, please don't pull your ad dollars from us.
I just figured I would set you up for the star pun.
No, I thought you were just confused because I think they do the Pebble Beach. How many tournaments does AT&T do?
They do a bunch because they get the AT&T Pro-Am. They got a bunch.
Listen, shouts to those
Rolex
folks
of golf.
Don't pull your ad dollars, Rolex. We love you too. No, man, things are great. It's another wonderful, beautiful morning here in the state of New England. That's right. It's a state because that's where I'm from. It's kind of considered a state originally. No, things are great. Yesterday was the Mass Open qualifier at Monday was the Mass Open qualifier at Kernwood Country Club. Ask me how I did, Andrew.
Yeah. So how did you do, bud?
I'll keep doing the show. I'll be doing the show for a while. So you don't need to go look for another host. I don't need to. I texted my future former 9 to 5 and let her know that I'm not going to be quitting anytime soon to be a pro golfer. I hit the ball really well. Like I was first team all driving range. And I don't mean on the driving range. I actually, on the course, I hit it well. I was 12 for 14 fairways, 14 of 18 greens. Okay. The wind was blowing 20 to 30. It was gusting 35 to 40. And those are true stats. Ask me how many putts I had, Andrew.
Gosh, you've had to have had at least 35 from the way you're saying.
I had 41 putts, Andrew.
Jesus, man.
I had 41 putts. It started really on the first hole. And no, by the way, those of you who are about to tune out, I'm not going hole by hole. That's actually going to be a bonus episode. Look for that.
Everybody wants to hear the Mass Am qualifier.
The Mass Am qualifier is June 1st at Ipswich Country Club. Shouts Ipswich. I'm coming up there for a nice course right there. Yeah, it's another kind of beastly guy. Mm-hmm. But this one, Kernwood's a Donald Ross layout, and like I said before, it's similar to the UF layout. Down at the University of Florida, but these greens were brutal, man, and they were rolling. And I honestly, where it fell apart for me was when I decided to take 15 minutes on the driving range. I had 30 to get there, or to get warmed up. I wanted to get there earlier, but COVID took my kid out of daycare this week. Everybody in the Copeland clan is fine. We actually all tested on Sunday night when we got the email from daycare, and we tested
everybody else at daycare who was not.
We're fine. Yeah, it was a teacher in her class, and then like the other teacher got it, and then they all had to stay home. So, anyways, so that kind of ate into my warm up time. But even then, I didn't use it smartly, as they say up here. I went straight for the driving range. I felt good hitting the ball, and then I only spent about 10-15 minutes rolling putts. Dude, these things were rolling. I'd say an 11, maybe a 12, easy.
I was going to ask you what they were rolling at. So how accurate were the putting greens to the greens on the course, though? Because that's always
exactly.
You never know how accurate the putting greens are.
Yeah, but I should have rolled the dice and taken my chances because it took me. I didn't have a 3-putt after the 12th hole. I mean, and that's so all of that damage because, like I said, I was hitting fairways, hitting greens. Really, what happened was I had a 4-putt on 9. That's 4 putts. So it's a short par 3, 135 yards. I had about a 20-footer uphill, and it sloped severely from back to front. And my first putt left me with about a 2-footer side hill, and I was still fuming, just from lipping out. And I walked up, took my time, lined it up. And right at the last second, I realized that I was holding it not cross-handed like I normally putt the other way. Threw me that one up at 4 feet by. So I'm like standing on the 10th tee fuming. There's trouble 320 long, and I'm still just seeing red from that 4-putt. Yeah. And I grabbed the driver, airmailed that thing. Probably, it was downwind, so it probably went 350 in the air. And that's when I realized I needed to get out of my own head. But at that point, the damage is done. I only broke concentration. Well, yeah, and that's really the only moment I broke concentration. The rest of it, I took it in stride. I feel good about how I hit the ball, and quite frankly, literally, like I said, after 13 on, I was putting all right. I think I had on the last 6 holes, I had 3 1-putts, and the rest were 2 putts. So it was not
late,
bad.
Unfortunately,
it was just too late. And so I know that because I trust anytime I stand over ball to hit it with a full swing, I trust myself blindly. It's kind of like not riding a bike. That's a shitty analogy. Putting's the last thing to come back to you.
There's nothing about golf that's like riding a bike. We never swing the same way twice. I swear to God.
No, you don't. But so, anyways, it was a great learning experience. Great. I massacred the field in ball striking. And just
quick question. So when you hit it flush, what is like your average drive distance? Like, what would you say? Like, you feel safe?
Stock driver.
Like, if you're just walking up to a tee and you know there's trouble, like say there's a water hazard out there and it's like 300 away. Are you comfortably going for it? Or are you laying up?
Clear, like carry.
Like to clear it is 300. Yeah.
No, I would be confident to carry 270, 275.
Okay. So we're similar then, because I feel like my average is like this 270 to 290 range.
Depending on the wind, depending on the wind and other stuff, I would look at 285 and think like, yeah, I got this. Okay. Now that said, I spent most of yesterday horizontal because I walked those 18 holes carrying my bag. And
no caddies at this event, huh?
No, there are caddies. I just you were busy, and it was a Monday.
That's
right. It was a random ass Monday in May, and it was a qualifier.
Future tees. I am going to carry the bag for Bud at one of these amateur tournaments sometime this year.
I got three more swipes at this apple.
Make it happen.
All right, so that didn't work out. I don't even remember our bet from last week. Let's talk about last week real quick. Obviously, my brain was on Monday. What was
our bet? I forget too.
I think we had Nate Lashley and Doc Redmond going head to head.
Yeah, and they both sucked. So.
I mean, I looked down and Redmond was 8 over halfway through Friday. I was like, I almost texted.
And Nate Lashley withdrew halfway through round 2 after he was +6.
So we'll call it a wash.
We'll call
it a wash. You're a 6er up on me. I'm okay with that. We got the PGA next week.
I've been ice cold since the Masters. I crushed it at the Masters. I have been ice cold since. It's killing me.
That's gonna all turn around this week.
Because I still believe in the process that I'm doing too. That's the thing. I still believe the process is right because it worked leading up to the Masters. It worked at the Masters. Just these last few tournaments have just been.
Okay, I like this. We're gonna front load the show with divots and pivots because that's the second pivot you've come talking about. Or you've enacted. After the putting thing, I was like, that's it. I got to change something because I actually putted really well in my league round on Saturday. Actually, I forgot I buried the lead. I had 4 birdies, shot 73. Obviously tournament golf, wind was blowing 30 versus, your
Is there a reason why you're not telling us the score from Monday?
86. Oh, you can look it up. It's public knowledge.
Okay. Wow. That is high for you. From what you've told me from your other round, that's pretty high for you.
I think one person on the day shot par. Everybody else was in the field.
Okay. I mean, with that kind of win for an amateur tournament, that's a brutal win for that. You kidding me?
Oh, stupid! It was stupid win, and that's why we were totaling up the scores of the 10 afterwards. And the guy with my card said my number out loud, and the other guy we were playing with, he goes, "What?" And he looked at me, and I was like, "Did you not pay attention? I didn't make shit." And he's like, thinking about it, and he goes, "Oh, that's right. You had that 4 putt on 9, and the 4 putt on 9 was the only time that I actually went. I was like, mother." And I slapped my putter.
Kind of lost it a little bit.
I did, which is what led to the OBT shot on 10. Like again, though that 4 putt and that OBT shot, I missed the cut by 8 strokes. So I mean, 78. I think 9 strokes. 77 made the cut. 78 was an alternate. 41 putts. I should be hitting 30. You're right. That 11 strokes right there. But really, I was a big number on 10 for hitting OB after a 4 putt. And that was actually the mental error. I could have gotten through everything else. And I've actually, between the 4 putt and the OB ball,
you could have been
seven strokes right there. So I wouldn't have done it, but that, who knows,
but it would have changed your mentality in those following
for holes. Sure.
It's a big hole to hole. It's huge mentality difference.
Listen, it'd been a while. It's kind of like when you haven't been in a fight in a long time, like growing up, your boys, you wrestle, you fight, you punch each other. It's so funny when people talk about the stereotypes of dudes. And I'm like, there's called stereotypes for a reason. Like, we are, we're not the brightest. But you just have to, it felt good to kind of go out there after rolling in a 73 in a practice round. And, I've been crushing it out at the Meadow, and then to have tournament golf, toughest conditions I could imagine. I mean, 45 degrees, 30 mile an hour wind. It was awesome. and then to get beat around like that in a sadistic kind of way. I was kind of like, okay, this is, I feel like bloodied and battered. And I'm like, all right,
right. It was your first tournament in a while though. So that's true.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
true.
since
you have
last
to
year's
get used to that.
Sure.
Because you would alluded to some of your practice rounds and trying to get yourself in that mental mindset of being in a tournament, because it is a different mindset and you can't replicate it until you're there.
No.
So,
and I'm not even going to try. Like, so on Saturday with my league round, we were playing a points game, and it was a best ball 4-man, just points. So I was just aggressive on everything. I was going after everything, hitting driver where I wouldn't, going after cutting corners, and I still dicked around and, turned in a decent score because the game was trying to hit birdies and stuff. But I also, after playing on Monday, I realized you're right. You can't replicate it, but you can try to at least tap into it. And when it's fresh, so like fresh wounds, and just reminding yourself when you do maybe when you're starting to dick around, not take it for granted that routine is important, putting out is important, but your expectations are important as well, because this game is not about competing all the time. How many millions of people play this game and how few percentage actually compete? And I don't mean that in any kind of pompous way. It's not supposed to be a hard game.
It's just because the odds is like, it's just odds. It's math. It's what it is. And not everyone can compete for money.
And again, the guys I was playing with, the guys the gentlemen in my group were incredibly complimentary, and that made me feel good. So I know that's what we're all here is about, my feelings. We are 12 minutes into this show, and we're still talking about my feelings. No, actually,
I love it. It's cool.
No, I actually, the other reason I wasn't able to kind of hit peak performance is because these hadn't come yet.
There they are.
I had to play with the other guy's balls, and don't get me wrong, I don't mind playing with anybody's balls. I'm perfectly comfortable with anybody's balls in my hand. But if you're gonna be at your best, you have to know you have to be comfortable with who's handling your balls. And the gentleman at Piper, Mike up at Piper, they do it right. Shouts to the boys in Atlanta for stepping up and bringing us something exciting and new. So we're excited to be having them with us here on Divots and Pivots, and I'm excited to be having them with me in the fairways and bunkers.
Yes, and you got the gold pack because you are a much better golfer than I am. I get the blue pack because I know my handicap. So the blue pack for me was the handicaps between 5 and 15. And I know my handicap is somewhere around 13 when I'm playing good. And it's been high. It's been better than that. There's been times in my life where I've been playing more, and that's the thing with golf. The more you play, the better you are. It's just the way it is. But life gets in the way, and you can only play as much as you can play. So I'm on the blue ball roll, and I got mine too. I did if you didn't see it, go on TikTok, search Mr. Ballard. You can see the opening. I've been posting it on Twitter the last couple of days. So go to Divots and Pivots. You can find that TikTok and take a look at the balls yourself. Because look, the one thing I like about it, and I don't know how you feel as someone who plays golf at a bit higher level than me, but that the built-in line that's already on the balls, obviously for putting, that's a nice help. But do you find it helps when you're lining up your approach shots, your drives, or anything too? Like, do you use that mentally as well?
Well, on approach shots, probably not, unless it's actually just lining up directly where you want, because you can't touch your ball in the fairway.
True,
no, I'm joking. I'm actually. Oh God, yes, you can. You know how many leagues they say that preferred lies in your fairway. Yes, on the green, I'm not a line person myself. I actually put a singular dot on top of the ball, and I kind of mentally look at everything. On the tee, though, that was the new one for me, and I think it might have been an interview with Bryson recently or somebody else. By recently, I mean the last 2 years. I feel like anything.
I do think I saw someone mention it on a commercial recently, though. It was
right. It gives. And I think it might have been Cam Champ, who, by the way, shouts to me for calling that one last week. That was one that I mean, and I like him this week. We'll talk later. But to your question about the beautiful Piper and the lines on your blue ball, and go take their quiz. Go take their quiz. Yes. It's pretty accurate. The gold are for 7 or less handicap. I'd say you were talking about the more you play, the better you get. The only reason I was able to, enter these tournaments was because by the end of last summer, my handicap was in a place to get to these tournaments. I'd say I'm probably, I'll comfortably walk around with a 3 around my neck all day right now. If you look me up, it's lower than that. But again, that's because that's how I was playing at the end of the summer last summer.
It's early season right now, though. You got
for
time
sure,
to settle
for sure.
in.
I still have a goal of being plus by the end of the summer, and I think I might get there. But no, go take their quiz, check it out. I'm looking forward to them. The line off the tee is what has actually got me to take my tee shots a little, not seriously, but to take my time. I used to be of the school of grip it and rip it, and I still am to a point, but I do line up my tee ball using that line, and then I step back and take a look, because for me, it gets a starting point visually where I want that thing to go.
See, because I have a hard time. And I have a hard time with my visually, where I tend to hit the ball straight, but hit it towards the right because I'm just offline. Like, so
it's called a slice.
No, it's not a slice. I'm telling you.
I'm just kidding.
It's an open club face, or even not even an open club face. It's just that when I then step up and I hold the club against my chest and see where it's pointing, I'm pointing right. Like, I'm not even realizing how far right my feet are, kind of idea. So that line is going to help, I think, kind of help me remind me to let's take a second and make sure we're aiming up right.
You know, read Bob Rotella's book, Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. It's like it's a bathroom book. Yeah. It's a bathroom book. And by the way, for all the children out there who aren't 40, back before cell phones and everything, you used to bring a book or like a magazine.
The handheld Yahtzee games.
Right. Like, I mean, it's, God, a world before cell phones on the toilet. That's a whole podcast.
You know, this is the image I have is the newspaper folded in half on top of the radiator. That's I mean, you grew up in Florida. You probably didn't have radiators.
I was just about to say, I didn't know what a radiator looked like.
Up here in New England, we had radiators galore in those old, Victorian style houses.
First time I went to my parents' house, or my dad's house in Detroit, or outside of Detroit in Dearborn, Michigan. He actually used to work at a pharmacy, not too far from 8 Mile. True story.
There we go.
Well, what people don't realize, 8 Mile is not a movie. It's just the name of a road,
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Radiators and bathroom readers, and talking about Piper Golf. Piper Golf's so happy right now that we went from Piper Golf to bathroom reading. But nah, they did it right.
Piper Golf. I'm very excited about Piper Golf being part of the show. Very excited.
And so I'm going to take those with me. I've got a little golf adventure coming up, and I'll report back about it next week. Yes. When we talk about the PGA, we're also going to talk about Boudreaux's travels. I'm going to go take on another Donald Ross course and a Pete Dye course out in French Lick, Indiana. Shoutslick French. Shoutslick? Was
that a new word? What is that?
Shoutslick.
Shoutslick.
Nice. Shoutslick. I'm not going to go any deeper.
I can't even make a joke about that word. That's just a weird word, man.
It's 2 words.
It's 2 words, but it's a weird combination.
I'll take them out there with me, and hopefully, I think my hat's going to come in. I ordered the gray hat.
So wait, did you get the Pipet hat too?
Of course, duh.
I got what color did you get it in?
Gray, duh.
Oh, I got it in the what's it, the forest or the evergreen? I think it's called the evergreen.
Yes, and I will tell you this: I accidentally ordered the black, and when I saw it on my receipt, I emailed the folks at Piper. No problem at all. My ball still came the next day.
Yeah, the balls came so fast.
Yeah, well, they're pros when it comes to balls at Piper, and then the hat. I was like, hey, real quick, folks, just notice this. I actually meant that. Balls showed up before the email showed up. Like, the balls showed up, and then they were like, we got you covered, bud. The new hat's on the way. Super stoked about working with Belly Up and Divots and Pivots. So
yeah, no, they're good about that stuff. They got their start with the golf balls. They're expanding more. They've expanded into some apparel right now. They plan on expanding even more into apparel. So keep an eye out when you go to Piper. Piper.golf is the correct website. Okay, so go to piper.golf. No .com, just piper.golf. You go there, you can check out the apparel they do have, and then keep an eye out for their future apparel. They got some lines coming out that are going to be absolute fire. It's going to be fun. And then speaking of apparel, the other great sponsor we have, In the Clutch, as you notice right up here at the top of the screen, Piper Golf on one side, In the Clutch apparel on the other. They're coming through. So they fully licensed T-shirts for both right now the MLB and the MLS. So if you go on there, they got some creative, funny, fun T-shirts that involve different MLB players, MLS players, different teams. They got some fun stuff. They're gonna be expanding into different sports. So get on there for both of these brands, Piper and the Clutch, and In the Clutch. Div PIV, 10% off on your order. Use it. you won't be sorry. It's great stuff. And In the Clutch is also very excited. We're gonna get their CEO on here in a couple weeks. Hopefully, we're working on that to talk about what they got going on. So that's gonna be some fun stuff.
I like what you did right there with the CEO from In the Clutch. We are super stoked. They got dope stuff. It's fun. It's engaging, and you look at it and you look at it and you immediately know what they're trying to get after. So they're good at what they do. We're excited to talk to them. But I like what you did there by already announcing that he's coming on. There's a scene in the West Wing, and again,
locking him in.
Fans of the show know that I'm an Aaron Sorkin fanatic. I would love to get him on the show just to see if he has any idea. I want him to do a golf movie about Tiger's life. That's my dream.
We need to start a counter. Who do you mention more, Aaron Sorkinson or David Lipsky? We're gonna start a counter in the corner of the graphics here.
Lipsky's in the league.
Starting to catch up with Lipsky.
Well, Lipsky's in the league because I've never mentioned Aaron Sorkinson. But funny enough,
most definitely have.
I've never mentioned Aaron Sorkinson. I've mentioned Aaron Sorkin.
Maybe that's what I'm confusing. Maybe that's what I'm confusing.
Which I was about to make a joke about. Aaron Sorkin's son actually was supposed to come to my camp that I worked at up in Maine, and then at the last minute, family had to change their plans, and they ended up coming at a different time. But that's why I was about to make a joke. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck Aaron Sorkinson is, but the super fan of Aaron Sorkin over here, I want him to do Tiger's life. But speaking of, I like what you did there by boxing in the CEO, because in the West Wing, there's a scene where they're trying to do that to get somebody to join some committee, and the press secretary for the White House just announces it. And the person looks at her, looks at her husband, and it's like, did you agree to do that? And he's like, I guess I did. I'm looking at it on TV. So for all the fans, man,
I've talked to them very. Oh, jokes. It's all about just figuring out the time. That's life, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
We're very excited to welcome both Piper Golf and In the Clutch to the family. Some fun stuff coming with them.
Speaking of time, it's all about timing, and the timing could not be better for us to bounce back from this Masters hangover that we both seem to be engrossed in, because much like we did with the Mexico Open, we're going to give last week's golf tournament for the professionals. What was last week? I did so bad.
It was the Wells Fargo.
Thank you. That's right.
Yes.
I tuned out when three of my four players in my other league.
We said it was a Keegan Bradley week. He finished top 5, or maybe he finished in 6, but he was up there. He was definitely top 10. So
we're gonna start calling this dog of the week, because first it was Brendan Todd. Then I go shitting on Keegan Bradley, and he's up there. But I did my whole song and dance about how, I don't know, he's not. But did he win?
He didn't win, but he would have helped you win some DFS lineups for his ownership.
Yeah,
he would have been there. And that's the thing. Whenever Keegan Bradley doesn't often pop in any models, but when he does, you better hammer him, because he pops for a reason. He has these handful of courses and tournaments that for some reason he just shows up for, turns it on. He's a very habitual player, I guess I should say, where he knows the places that he likes to play at, kind of idea.
He's a horse for courses?
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. He's a horse for a course, yes.
Speaking of courses.
Yes, let's get into this.
Yeah. All right. So, and by the way, next week we've got the PGA coming at you. You'll see a slightly different bit of a show, because we'll really hammer it hard. Southern Hills coming at you hard. And actually, we might have a friend from Southern Hills joining us. That was something I didn't tell you off air. More to come on that.
Big market teas.
Yeah. Your boy's got connections in Bixby, Oklahoma. Look it up. Bixby, it's a place. Actually, Bixby Spartans, if you Google their high school football stadium,
Bixby, Oklahoma, actually.
It's got one of the biggest jumbotrons of any high school football stadium in America. One of my best friends is a Bixby alum. Go Spartans. And that's a lot about Bixby, Oklahoma. Jeez, yeah. So I was talking about horses for courses, TPC Craig Ranch. This is a Lone Star State showdown. I mean, you've got guys out here. Will Zalatoris grew up playing the course. Sam Burns and somebody else in the field, I can't remember the name, owned the course record. It's right in front of me. You've got all these Texans who basically played high school tournaments, college tournaments, amateur tournaments. A bunch of them are members out there. I mean, I think there's only one member in the field this week, but at the same time, they've all at one point called TPC Craig Ranch, which is not I mean, it's nothing to turn your nose up at. 7,400 plus.
Yeah, it's a long one.
It's a long one, but the fairways are open and forgiving. They have some creek that crosses at 14. What is it? Raymond's Rowlett Creek crosses at 14 times, but apparently there's not a lot of danger. The fairways are kind of forgiving and wide. Length really isn't kind of too much of a differentiator because they're playing off that. What kind of grass are they playing off this week? I want to hear you say it. I grew up. This was the typical grass in a southern, like a southeast.
Hold on. Because I need to look at how to, because it is a fun. Whenever I read it, I was like, what in the world? Hold on. I have it right in front of me here too. Oh yeah. So I'm going to say Zoysia.
So that's that. Yeah. Okay. So you don't sound too much like a Yankee. That Georgia. I mean, basically, when you get down south, you almost think people are saying Georgia. It's like, no.
Well, that's what the way you just said it. I thought you said Georgia.
Well, the proper pronunciation when you don't want to sound like. Well, I'm not gonna denigrate my own people. We just talk different. If you play on that stuff, you can nip it with anything. It sits up nice and high. It's basically like hitting off of the nicest driving range mat you've ever been on that actually will give you a little bit of a divot. It's this is a ball striker's grass. That's the best way to explain it. It just sits up pretty on it. So you got wide forgiving fairways, you got ball striker's grass, and you got Bermuda greens. And it's going to be a long, tough test. It's not gonna be too hard. It's not like it's an overwhelmingly challenging course, but you got a lot of familiarity. So I almost have, between Spieth, Scheffler, Zalatoris, and just name a Texan, and they've played.
There's some big name Texans in this field this week. Like there's some juice. This is definitely feeling like a stars and studs kind of lineup week because there's just some big names that are going to be really hard to get away from.
Ryan Palmer, that's the other guy who's got the course record here. Sam Burns and Ryan Palmer. And so
Ryan Palmer has the course record here.
Yeah, Ryan Palmer told Golf Week he has the course record at TPC. Oh, he told Golf Week he has the course record at TPC Golf. No, he does because Sam Burns. I believe it. Yeah. Oh, so do I. What the fuck does he have to lose by? Oh, I got the course record there. It's like you're a millionaire in golf. No, but he's got the course record. Sam Burns has it in competition. So really, what we're looking at this week is, for me, looking at the course like that, where it's long, forgiving. The greens aren't known to be too tricky, not like the Donald Ross greens that murdered me last week. 41 putts. Ball strikers. Who's striking it well right now? Because if you're striking it well right now, you're going to be hitting it close. You don't need to be a bomber. You just need to get it in the fairway, put yourself in position, and then if you're striking it well, I think that
speaks perfectly to one of the key stats I used, which was that proximity of approach shots being 200 plus yards. Right. It just shows that you don't have to bomb it down the fairway. You just got to get it into a spot that you're comfortable with. And because look, 200 plus yards for an approach is the average approach shot on this course, or I should say the average. It's the highest average approach shot.
It's the high end of the average. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Also, the par threes. There's 3 of the 4 par threes I think are 200 plus, something in that range. Yeah. So a guy like Justin Thomas immediately jumps to mind as far as that's the prototypical, who he almost sounds like. I think any TPC Justin Thomas is going to do well.
Sure.
But that being said, TPC Craig Ranch, the Texans are out there. I almost think that there's if I was laying bets, or I think there's probably a prop bet out there. Lone Star alum versus the field, like a Texas kid or the field, because you got like Harry Higgs, all the SMU crowd, and I think you can even say if you played for either Texas or SMU, you count.
So that makes sense because looking at projected ownership right now, Sam Burns and Will Zalatoris are the only two that are projected over 20% ownership right now. Sam Burns at 21, Zalatoris at 20. So look, it makes sense, but unfortunately, the field is also onto the same narratives, which is unfortunate. But maybe it creates an opportunity to where you can find a lesser known name who has also experience kind of in the area and on the course. It could work out for you. You just have to know where to look.
Well, let's get into that then. We got our trusted friends at Fantasy National Golf Club. Shouts to the ladies and gentlemen at Fantasy National and to their mixed conditions model. Your boy, real Mr. Mallard. The Mr. Mallard likes to get in the weeds and really get down and dirty. I'm much more broad strokes. I got my 3 to 4 things I look for each week. And ironically enough, they almost always end up being the mixed conditions model because I would say
what is not in the mixed condition model is what you bring uniquely to this show is your strokes gained home life. And that's what I count on you for each week. Because you know more about strokes gained home life than anybody else or any other site can give us. So that's why you tune in here.
Yeah, and until they copyright that phrase, I'm going to keep using it because as much as they like to say it, I know it. I know more about it. You really have one of those. I would not expect this to be a shocker of a winner. I would expect some favorites to come out on top, but we're not here to pick favorites. We're here to pick points. So let's talk about the points that we have out there to win this week and up in the 10K range. And before we go there, my three things I think I told you, and I might have dabbled at them earlier. Strokes gained approach. Cause like I said, if you're hitting it, whatever, I think that's the truest. I'm ripping this off of somebody else, but I agree. It's one of the best measures of current form is strokes gained approach. It's kind of all encompassing because even if you don't have the greatest drive, it still encompasses how did you do from that spot. Or if it's not even on an approach shot to the green, it could just be a layup on a par 5. It's basically how much did that particular moving the ball from point A to point B, how much did that increase your strokes gained on that hole? And it's
there's a reason why it's pretty much the most used key stat for any week. It's always in. I look around at other experts too. It's always in every single expert's mixed conditions or key stats, including mine. Yeah. It's just too good of a stat to like you said, to gauge current form.
Now some weeks I won't throw it in my top 3 just because there might be 3 more that are more jarring. Sure. Where if that's new.
But again, if you're doing 5, it still should make the top 5 pretty much every week.
Oh, for damn sure. So, but this week mostly because again, PGA is next week, so maybe some focus is shifted. Who's focused on hitting the ball well at Craig Ranch? Strokes gained putting, and I know that's something that you and I are not necessarily. But I have this weird theory that if everybody's playing off this perfect little Joja fairways and they're all hitting up these tight approach shots, who's rolling them? I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if the winner has 6-7 strokes gained in putting this week.
Well, then you know what? Just for you, I'm going to add it in here. We're let's add strokes gained putting into the mixed conditions and just see how it changes things. Why not?
Yeah.
So you can keep going, but I just figured I'd
and then my third one is just strokes gained off the tee. And I know that sounds so basic, but I don't think there's a whole lot to differentiate. This is not, again, it's a typical TPC course in the sense that it's a tournament players club. It's set up not for pros to benefit them, but this isn't one of the ones that jumps out at you. It's not a Sawgrass. Pardon me. It's not a Sawgrass. It's not a PGA West. It's not anything like that where, you can be like, damn. It's a comfortable, familiar, good test of golf. It would eat our lunch. I think I looked this up on the GIN app, and I'm like a plus. I'm like an 8 or 9 handicap on this course when I enter my stuff. So I can't imagine what these guys are going to do to it. So quick,
I mean, that's how courses around here in New England eat me for lunch. So I mean, that's not saying much for me to go out there and get crushed by this course.
Well, I mean, real quick, because then I do want to go into yours. New England golf in and of itself is an entirely different beast. It's really no secret to the show. I grew up in Florida. I didn't grow up at Sawgrass. I just had the privilege of being there a lot, and be able to play it a lot. But Florida in general is wide open and you bomb it. They make it's wide open. It's flat. You just hit it as hard as you can and you go find it. And you hit it again. That's, I'm being very generic and stereotyping there. But when I moved up here to New England, I was licking my chops looking at some of these scorecards, 63, 60, 400 yards. I'm like, par 5s that are 460 yards. I'm like, that's a driver and a wedge. Like if you get it downhill or downwind, a lot more trees, a lot less land, a lot more dog legs. So, I mean, I'm hitting these I'll say a par 5 that's 440 or something. But what they don't tell you is that your tee shot can only go 215. And then
you got to hit a 6 iron into it just to set yourself up.
You got to go like 6 iron pitching wedge. And there's no way around it, guys.
Yep. There are a few courses here in New England where I only use the driver maybe on 2 holes. There are a few courses where you just can't.
I could get around my place without a driver. Luckily, there are a lot of holes where you get to hit it because I'm one of those like grunt and swing guys.
It just feels too good.
But there's a par 5 on the front, the front of the meadow. It's number 7, and it's the one that really the first time just messed me up mentally because I can't hit anything higher than a 5-iron off the tee without bringing and I don't mean like bringing trouble into play, like, you know, I'm afraid of something and cut a dog leg and you've got a landing area that's about 15 yards wide. It's just not worth it. And it really, really hits you right in the ego. So anyway, yeah, New England golf's a different beast, but down in Texas where they are this week, it's wide open. Let it fly. If you're putting it in the fairway and you're hitting some decent approaches, you're going to be in play. So why don't you real quick tell us about your little mix model? I'm such a dick. Your model that I rely on. It's going to become the Divots and Pivots model. We're going to brand the Divots and Pivots model. We're going to release it each week. It's going to be glorious. But I rely on it as a differentiator. So talk us through your model real quick.
So like we alluded to, strokes gained approach is definitely a top key stat for me. I'm also doubling down with strokes gained ball striking. Like you said, this is just a ball striker's heaven for the way this course is set up, the way the fairway grass is set up. It just, you gotta be able to place it. I did add in strokes gained putting because look, I'm willing to learn a thing or two at any given time. And I liked your argument for adding in strokes gained putting as maybe a differentiator to set some guys apart from the field if they are all going to be equalized by this, the fairway greens. And then, like you said, like I said earlier, the proximity of 200 plus yards for either approach shots or those couple par threes that are 200 plus yards. That's going to be key. I think one of the biggest keys this year is that 200 plus yards and that the par fours between 450 and 500. There's going to be some big yardage to be had here with your irons and with your kind of those middle clubs, your hybrids, your irons. So the guys who can flush those, hit those solid and feel confident in where they're going to end up, those are the guys that I'm looking to do good here. And then throwing in the opportunities gained because this is a course where, like you said, it's open fairways for the most part that you can feel pretty confident getting off the tee. I want guys who can take advantage of that and put themselves in position to chase some birdies, to chase some eagles on some of these par fives. So I want some opportunities gained as well. So those are my main key stats. It's a strokes gained approach, strokes gained ball striking, strokes gained opportunities, and then the proximity of 200 plus, and then par fours between 450 and 500. And then, like I said, I added in your strokes gained putting as well. So that's what I have. And looking at the results of the way the rankings come out for those, it makes sense with what we were saying. A lot of the guys in the top 10 are in those higher price ranges, your favorites. And there's 3 guys in the top 10 that are over 10 grand. There's two more guys in the top 10 that are over 9 grand. So 5 of your top 10 right there are over 9 grand. And this only compared to, I think it was last week where we had like 5 or 6 guys that were under $8,000. We only have, I think it's 4 this week in the top 10 that are under $8,000. So this is definitely more of a stars and studs kind of, that is the same thing. Stars and scrubs kind of lineup.
Well, listen, with this show, all you get is a star and a stud. And so, it's understandable that, no, I agree. It's that's what I was smiling about is I was like, the cream's rising to the top this week. I'm going to use every sports cliche I can to see, because you look at our rankings and how they shake out, and we got major winner, most successful guy without a win right now, and the highest guy ranked on the FedEx Cup points at 19, Will Zalatoris without a win, right there. Vaughn Taylor,
he's just going to be popular this week because everybody's on it.
And this is his home course from, I guess, a while ago, or he's there now. I don't know. Scotty Scheffler, Taylor. So, I mean, our guys, and there's another sneaky one there at 7,200 who's not starred, but I think I'm going to make an argument for him when we get down to the 7K range. So let's get to
go back to your boy Aaron Rye.
Him and Lipsky. Somebody's gonna
even after his collapse last week to miss the cut. I think I texted you at one point saying Aaron Rye, great call, he's doing great, and then he missed the cut after round 2.
That's why I never text anybody before Friday afternoon about these scores. Yes, because again, it's the Thigala or Zalatoris. When you're knocking at the door, your brain goes one of 2 ways. And this is kind of what I'm telling myself, because let's be honest, this show's all about me licking my wounds from Monday. Is I was there, and like the guys I was playing with thought I played better than I did because I was hitting the ball well. I was staying with it. On a much larger scale, Rye was, he's there. He's back in his hotel room going 1 putt, 2 putts. That's all it took. I do think that he's going to break through. I think Lipsky might first, quite frankly, but that's just because I'm going to err on the side of the American over the British kid. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get to it. 10K, and I have a fun question for you in the 10K range. If you're ready to start getting into the down and dirty,
let's get
shit. We're 40 minutes in. We might as well talk about some DFS.
Looking at the time, because that we're saying this is a stars and scrubs kind of week. Let's kind of fly through these higher price favorites so that we can find all you good listeners some scrubs that can make you afford one or two of these guys up top.
Quick, that's perfect. Then this is the one question I have for you in the 10K range, and then we'll move down to 9K, where I think there's a little more meat or a little more room for discussion. 10K. I read something earlier that put Scotty Scheffler on the top of the list, and it said if he's in the field, he has to be a favorite. I mean, I'm not. I would anybody who said I'm fading him this week, go F yourself. If you're intentionally avoiding him, that's a shitty argument. If you're just saying he's chalky, I don't want him, that's fine, right? I can get that. So anyways, let's just take him off the table. Scotty's out. And between Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, and Jordan Spieth, there was an old game you played back in the day with your friends, F, Chuck, or Mary. You gotta keep one. You're dating one, you're marrying one, and then you're dumping one. Date, marry, and dump. There we go. Date, marry, and dump.
Date, marry, dump.
So that's date, marry, and dump. Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth. And here it is. You're going to date. This is the person that you'll take. Okay, you'll put him in one because you think you could do it. Marry, obviously, you're putting a ring on it. This is a flag you're planting in your lineups. And dump, if you need an explanation, you're probably single. So date, marry, and dump. Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, and Jordan Spieth for me.
So I'm going to base my decision on these ones not solely, obviously based on my model too, but mainly based on ownership here. So I'm going to marry Jordan Spieth because I think at his ownership of only projected around 14% and at that price and his Texas roots and everything, like that seems too good. I'm going to date Justin Thomas because he's going to cost me too much money at close to 20%. Ownership, so he'll be fun to get me there. He might be able to get me the win, but in the end, my wallet's going to be empty because to have too many shares of him is gonna bleed me dry. And then I'm gonna dump Dustin Johnson because I just don't think this is the type of course for him. It's plain and simple. I don't have him start, and I don't think his form is good enough right now for this type of course as well. That it's just not going to work out.
I'm marrying DJ.
Oh, okay.
With guys like this at this level, I'm just straight up ownership play. Who's the lowest owner of the three? I think DJ's down around 10. And he's also just dumb and zen enough to not know where he is. And so if all it means, if he's, I've heard people say it, he's the closest thing to Tiger when he's on. When they say like he is, Scotty Scheffler's on a heater right now. I mean, he is.
Yeah, but Dustin, I know what you mean.
Dustin Johnson,
you watch Dustin Johnson when he's on.
It just
looks too smooth and easy.
And so I would just say, if I'm going to marry somebody, I'm going to marry him. I'm going to take that leverage and spread it out. I'm going to date JT because this sets up perfectly for him. That scrawny little squirt at 162 pounds soaking wet somehow can hit a 5-iron to the spot the size of a quarter from 220 yards. So I like him from in Jordan Spieth. I'm dumping mostly because you have to dump somebody, and I've got stronger arguments, even though I was the one talking about Lone Star people. So there it is. Date, dump, and marry. We're dating. We're going to date JT. We're going to dump Jordan. Sorry, guys. And we're going to marry Dustin Johnson.
Okay. There you have it. Bud's love life.
in a nutshell, man. All right, so basically what we're saying is out of there, honestly.
So we both like JT. We both think that JT is going to do good. It's just whether or not we want to pay for him is the difference. Right. But we both think JT is going to do good.
Do you think the ownership projection's low on Scotty just because people are trying to do the whole I don't want to take the top guy because he's lower than JT, and it's one of those things that
he's just under 15%. Projected, which isn't too bad considering his price.
considering his price, and I think it's just people outsmarting themselves. Like
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said take him off the table for this fun little game, because first of all, it needs three players, and second of all, I really would have a hard time arguing with anybody until it's kind of one of those things. Until somebody knocks him off the throne, he's a king. So let's get down to the
easily win.
Oh, for freaking sure. All right, 9K range. We have too many players to do date, dump, and marry, but that doesn't mean there's not something in there for you.
Well, let's talk about the big names, because we've already mentioned Zalatoris, who's a local guy down here. So him and Sam Burns are the two most popular in the tournament in general, and they're both here at 95 and 94. So Sam Burns projected 21% ownership, Zalatoris projected 20%. I like Zalatoris more than Burns as far as finishing, and then obviously the ownership lines up that way as well as the price. I do like Zalatoris more than Burns this week, but I gotta say, in this 9K range, I like hitching my wagon to Matsuyama, coming in at a projected 13% ownership at 9,900. He ranks number 2 in my model this week. And so I can get behind me some Matsuyama. His ball striking so far this year and his approach has just been clean. It's just been good. And if you're telling me that this type of fairway means that his ball is going to sit up and he's going to be able to pick it clean and do whatever he wants with it, as far as fading, draw, whatever he wants to do to get it into the green, I'm going to take him. And if he's going to be under-owned at under 14%, that's a solid – he's got just as good of an opportunity to win this as some of the guys in the 10K range, in my opinion.
I obviously see you at the Zalatoris. I mean, I'm just kind of, I think, again, I'm not trying to outsmart myself with that one, but there's somebody else, and I actually just wanted to see this real quick. I want to make sure I had this. Right. That's what I thought. Pereira, Mito Pereira, who's up there, and he's sitting pretty, and... Yep. Okay. Nope. Sorry. That's right. Joaquin Niemann. That's who I like in the rest of the 9K range. He is, I think I'm going to take his ownership because I think he is going to perform. He's up there 16, almost 17%. But he was playing really, really well when he had that, when Mito Pereira had to withdraw from the team event. And I think, and this is where that kind of like the competitive, if it wasn't for this guy, I might have won that week. And I think just with, again, the course sets up for him because these guys are pros. And this is one of those courses that if you're playing well, you're going to come through. And the folks at DraftKings know what they're doing, and they price them appropriately, and the projections over at Fantasy National. So I like Mito in the 9K range. So or not like Mito, Joaquin Niemann. Sorry. I like both.
I'm glad you brought Niemann up, actually, because I just realized he wasn't starred, and when I did my research, I actually meant to star him, so I must have misclicked, because I do agree with you that I do like Niemann this week as well. But so given our time, we do have to unfortunately move pretty fast with this, and I actually don't love a lot of the 8K range anyways.
Neither do I.
So I think that's kind of good. I know Jason Day played pretty good. Last week he played pretty good, right? He was in the he finished T15.
He did, and he's also, quote unquote, he's got a new swing. He's talking about this new swing. He's kind of back. I think it's a head thing to get him away from all the injuries. And the 8K, you're right. I'm not in love with anybody here. Truth gun to my head, I would put some points behind Taylor Gooch, again, talking about somebody who likes the local flavor. And then Cam Champ last week was playing well. Another course where he's a kid that just pay attention. He's about to pop. He hits it a mile. He's a great ball striker. He's just a good. I think he won the Genesis a couple years ago. He's been there before. He's going to be back.
And you can get him under 6% ownership right now. So that's actually
at 8K under 6%. Cam Champ might be a look. Let's go down. Let's go further though. Let's go further down into the 7K Wonderland.
Yep. So you mentioned Mito Pereira. I actually do like him this week, especially at 7,600. That seems I would have expected him to be in the 8K range. Honestly, I think that's where his value is. So I think you're getting him at a fantastic value at 7,600. But I do want to mention someone who is more popular this week, and it's probably because more and more people are starting to use fantasynational.com to start researching, because he did immediately, when you start putting in these key stats, he immediately popped towards the top. He ranks 10th in my mixed condition model, but Kurt Kitayama, I'm not sure if I'm saying the last name right, but Kurt Kitayama at 7,400 ranks 10th in my model. I believe he was coming in like just under 15, right around 14% projected ownership, which for a guy at 7,400 and a name that not a lot of people know, is a bit high on the ownership scale. But man, he's popping pretty nicely. He's got 4 top 10 rankings in these key stats. And that feels like someone who could come out and give you a top 20 finish at 7,400. So it just feels like someone you might just have to eat the chalk on.
And there's a reason he's chalky. I mean, the guy finished T2 at Mexico, like you said, T15 at Wells Fargo. He's I like he's a UNLV guy. He's a UNLV guy from Chico, California. How can you not get behind that right there? But I like Kurt Kitayama down there in the 7K range as well. He is chalky. I'm looking through and I'm not really seeing, again, I fell in love with Mito so quick because of the Mito Joaquin thing. I don't even know. Joaquin. Barcelona. It's pronounced Barcelona. But when I saw the thing about Neiman, and I was like, oh, that's right. But his partner was actually playing well too. Mm-hmm. And Pereira has been a name that we've said a lot on the show. I'd like him. The reason I'm kind of at a right now is because I had Brian Harmon kind of circled for a little while, but he WD'd obviously. Yeah. So I mean, I've got a love-hate with Mark Leishman. I hate that I have to love him in windy conditions. And It's so stereotypical. He had such a cluster F, you know what I mean, last week. Mm-hmm. I think he got his rear handed to him so good by the conditions and everything at the Smells Fargo that I like him to bounce back strong here in Texas. And so he would be my other 7K. Mito and Mark in the 7K range. You heard it here first. What is Mark's projected ownership? Most popular
Leishman is like around 70%.
7. There you go. Hang your hat on Leishman. Thank me later.
Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of Luke List this week. Actually, it's been a while since I've gone to him. But he's coming.
I know several people who like him.
He's in all right form. He's at 7,300. He's ranking 15th in my model this week. He's a ball striker who can also hit it with a little bit of distance, which we said you don't really need here. But he's got the kind of distance where he might be able to hit it just far enough, more than everyone else, where he can put himself in slightly better position. The one thing that is either going to kill him or take him to the promised land this week is his putting. He's not a great putter. But if he can get in there and find a stroke putting and play like he usually does on the approach and with the ball striking, he could be someone at 7,300 who could definitely surprise. So I don't mind some Luke List this week either.
Was that another dig at my 41 putts?
It was not, but I mean, if you want to take it that way, I'm okay with that.
No, I'm over it, man. I'm totally on to Ipswich in the Mass Amateur. No, I actually like Luke List as a just. He's gonna be around for a while. He's another Taylor Gooch.
Yes.
Luke List. I saw your boy Johnny Vegas pop up on a couple of lists, and he's also highly owned.
I saw that too, actually.
Well, I think it might just be because he's done well around this event. But then again, only the second year here at Craig Ranch. Why is his name though? That's not the only place. I don't care. I can't get it down there. He's not on our.
List. Vegas does play well in Texas. It seems for some reason he just likes it down there.
Down in Tejas.
Yeah, Vegas 8,400. He ranks 34th in my model, so not terrible. Same thing. It's the putting that will either make or break him. He's also not great from 200 plus. He doesn't. And he ranks at the bottom of like opportunities gained. So those are the things that are keeping him out of being higher ranked. It's his putting and his opportunities gained. But let's quickly jump into. So unfortunately, there's not a ton that I love in the 6K range either. The main guy that I'm going to in 6K is I just passed him. I'm going back to Austin Smotherman. He's ranking 13th in my model. He's now proven on the times that we've played him that he is just a pure ball striker. He hits it cleanly. He can pick it and he can put it where he wants. He's not the one thing that's really hurting him in these rankings is the par fours between 450 and 500. He ranks 133rd in the field. But other than that, everything is top 60, and he's got quite a few top 10s mixed in here as well, including ranking number 1 in proximity of 200 yards or more. So at 6,600, I don't mind playing Smotherman if it means I can play some of those guys in the 9K range.
I'd give him a look. Mostly, like you said, he's Smotherman. He's done well for us, at least when we've mentioned his name. I think it's funny that who's number 5 on the model, Vaughn Taylor. And
yeah.
I think that would be.
Yeah, so I'm fading him. I think it was because of his recent form. He's actually just not in great form.
And the funny thing is,
okay. So I say, he missed the cut last week and he withdrew from the Mexico Open.
Doesn't matter. He trust the system, trust the process. The numbers don't lie. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't even get down to 6K. I didn't. I messed around with lineups that didn't require me. I didn't get. Now it would be fun, and there's some time left before the folks tee off tomorrow morning. Might get in there and say, like, what happens if I want Scotty and DJ? Can I build something that doesn't make me feel like a complete and total degenerate to get it out there? But we'll see. Tune in next week to find out. We will make sure that we do a recap of the Byron Nelson. We'll keep it succinct. Yes. That means short, Andrew. Short.
Yes. Short,
and I'm saying that
not good at.
I like how you say we. That's very sweet of you to include you in my long-windedness.
But when I have a couple of these right here, I tend to feed into that and keep you going.
What is this, the Today Show with Kathy Lee and Hoda? You're sitting here pounding red wine at 10 a.m. I love it.
Does that make you Ryan Seacrest?
I guess it does. Well, he is a Georgia Bulldog. Guess you didn't know that. But he dropped out of school though. Imagine if he would have just graduated, he could have made something out of himself.
Yes, life just turned out so horrible for him.
We'll take a quick peek back at how we did with the Byron Nelson. I'll update you on what's going on with Piper Golf and how their balls handled out, I handled their balls out in French Lick. It's a great sentence to repeat. Hopefully we'll have some apparel from the clutch on our bodies, and then we will pivot
today. It's on its way, so it won't be long.
We will pivot straight to Southern Hills PGA Championship and the next page in Divots and Pivots. Stay tuned next week for some more teasing. We got some more stuff coming in the works. It's big time for Belly Up Media and everything that's going on with us. So I say us. I'm not even officially like. No, but you're allowing me to come to.
You are part of this show, so it is us. Because
I appreciate it because
if you follow Divots and Pivots on Twitter at Divots and Pivots, I teased it as well this week where I said we are so excited about some of the stuff that we just can't.
We got some
quite talk in detail to you all about yet, but we got some exciting stuff coming.
This is like the time Michael Mixon told me that he knew who had a crush on me right before I had to go play a baseball game, and I went 0 for 4, and I was like, "What?" That's just another sad story from. I was more sad about 0 for 4, and then I found out it was already. Well, it was already the girl that I was. It was the girl that I was dating. He was just trying to mess with my head. It worked. It worked.
Yeah.
41 putts.
41 putts. That's right. I'll match that. It's pretty much standard for me.
All right. So thank you, folks. Piper, Clutch. Good to see you both.
Yes.
Shouts to Fantasy family. National. Belly Up. Thanks for letting me hang out again.
Yes, and as always, Tiki Live, catch us every Wednesday, 10 a.m. right here like you did this morning. We're on Tiki Live. If you go to tikilive.com and search Belly Up, go to Belly Up TV, you can watch 24/7 sports content from all of our podcasts, all of our different shows. We got some exciting stuff coming from our more recent live broadcast team as well. We've been covering the NLFA down in Louisiana. We also have coming to you very shortly some international content. We are going to be starting to cover the Croquet League in England, as well as the World Cup version of croquet later this summer. That's going to be held in New Zealand. So stay tuned. You can check us out on Tiki Live. We're going to be bringing you some ESPN Ocho style sports. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you've got a Roku,
go looking for the Belly Up Media apps. The Roku Belly Up Media app. It's out there.
Yeah. So Tiki Live, you can find it through Tiki Live on Roku. So if you if you download Tiki Live on Roku, same thing, search Belly Up. You can watch 24/7. We always have something loaded up that'll play. There's never a blank screen. You can hear so many of our great podcasts and shows on there. And then catch us in all the places that you catch your podcasts any day of the week, whenever you want, whenever it works for you. We'll be there. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Divots and Pivots, or Real Mr. Mallet or Mr. Mallet, search it. You'll find us. Bud Copeland, as always, thanks for being here with me and being my counterpart and filling the airwaves. And we'll see you next week, guys, for some PGA Championship next week. Very excited. Have a great week, all.